friends, and welcome to Star Wars for 100 Days, the ultimate fan countdown leading up to the release of Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Every day we're getting a little bit closer to the next big sequel in the Star Wars franchise. We are officially 57 days away from the release of the brand new movie. But before we see the future of Star Wars, let us journey into the past, because I'm going to continue my reviews of Star Wars Clone Wars, the hit animated series from 2003. And today I'm going to talk about my absolute favorite episode of the entire series. One of the most monumental episodes of Clone Wars, because this was the episode that formally introduced the menace that was General Grievous. The movie version of General Grievous has absolutely nothing on the Clone Wars version of the character. His speed, his fighting power, the way he uses his lightsabers, the animated version of General Grievous from the original Clone Wars series is a freaking monster. You can really see why the Jedi feared him so much. So let's talk about the story of this episode of Clone Wars, which is also the first episode in the series, which is double the length of a normal episode. We're talking about 7 minutes of badassery here, my friends. After Anakin Skywalker defeated Asajj Ventress, he returns to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they receive a distress call from this other Jedi and his other group of Jedi comrades who are being completely destroyed by this brand new droid general who goes by the name of General Grievous. It takes a while before you actually see him in this episode, but what I love is how all of the Separatist forces and General Grievous have actually corralled all of the Jedi into the middle of this massive battlefield, and they're actually held up in this massive Separatist warship, which is basically the Star Destroyer, or more commonly known as the Acclamator. What's really cool about this episode, too, is we get to see some real famous Jedi, like Ki-Adi-Mundi, Aayla Secura, and Shaak Ti. 2 of these characters actually end up meeting their end during the Order 66 sequence of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The Jedi are outnumbered by thousands of battle droids and General Grievous himself, who tells the Jedi that he will grant them one more wish: a warrior's death. And this is when the massacre finally begins. I especially love the build-up to this scene, because all of the Jedi are held up back to back, completely freaking out, and they don't even see General Grievous. All you hear are the mechanical sounds of his footsteps as he gets closer and closer, until suddenly, this one Padawan Jedi completely freaks out, runs into the battlefield, and General Grievous lands right on top of him, crushing him and showing his full glory for the very first time. When he removes his cape and you see his mechanical ribcage opening up with all of these sharp edges all over his body, you know that this is a guy you do not want to mess with. And to make matters worse, he also happens to use lightsabers. He can use up to 4 at one time, and with his abilities, he's able to sneak in and completely slaughter and massacre all of the Jedi. Some of them do live, but honestly it seems like he is going to kill all of them in this episode. And what I really love about this version of General Grievous is that we didn't know that he would actually have multiple limbs. We didn't realize that he would actually have 4 different arms, which could hold 4 different lightsabers. In this version, he actually hasn't been fully upgraded quite yet, and he actually has the ability to use lightsabers with both his hands and his feet. Without a doubt, the coolest thing about this episode is simply how General Grievous fights. It's a lightsaber battle unlike any that I've seen from the entire series, and a lot of that actually has to do with General Grievous himself, because he's an alien being who's almost dead and having to be kept alive by this massive suit made out of droid parts. Now, what's really awesome is he can actually move and contort his body around in a lot of different ways. He can actually spin his entire torso, so when he's holding 2 different lightsabers, he's basically just a giant walking wall of laser death that if you immediately walk into, you're just going to be immediately obliterated. Not only that, but he's able to steal the lightsabers from the other Jedi, literally wielding them with both hands and one in one foot as he's dodging, parrying, and killing all of the Jedi at once. He does manage to take out a few of them. Of course, the Padawan at the beginning, this one big fuzzy dude, and of course this one guy, he actually ends up grabbing his face with his foot, slamming his head into the dirt, and then throwing him into the rubble. And while he's doing all of this, it literally looks like he is dancing with the lightsabers, just bobbing and weaving and making every single attack count, jumping and running around the room, using the momentum of his brand new droid body to propel himself forward like an explosion of awesomeness. And it all ends on an amazing cliffhanger with both him and Ki-Adi-Mundi having a big standoff as General Grievous jumps up with 2 lightsabers, one in his foot, Ki-Adi-Mundi getting ready to fight him, and the episode ends right there. The reason that this was such an amazing ending is that this was actually the end of Volume 1 of Clone Wars, and we didn't get to see the conclusion of this story until like a whole year later. And this was all the big build-up to the release of Revenge of the Sith, and General Grievous was going to be a key character in that movie. So getting to see this character like a year early to a Star Wars fan was a huge deal. So I said it before, I'll say it again, this is my absolute favorite episode of Clone Wars. General Grievous is so incredibly intimidating and awesome. All of his fight scenes are incredibly fluid, and just him alone, his atmosphere, is what really makes this episode. And just the fact that there's this weird half-alien, half-droid creature out there that can actually stand toe-to-toe with other Jedi, kill them, steal their weapons, and then use them against him. He's truly one of the most disturbing entities I've seen from the Star Wars universe, and his introduction into that universe is without a doubt his crowning achievement. Also, a little fun fact, the Padawan Jedi that he actually ends up killing, he looks a lot like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. Well, that's actually what they modeled the character after, and that Jedi's name just happens to be Shaggy. Zoinks! Sucks to be that guy! So those are my thoughts on this chapter of Clone Wars, the introduction of General Grievous, one of my favorite pieces of American animation, and without a doubt, my favorite episode of Clone Wars. What's really cool about this episode is now that General Grievous is here, we're going to be seeing a lot of cool stuff from this character, so just stay tuned as I review the rest of the Clone Wars series. But before you guys leave today, I would love to hear your thoughts about this chapter of Clone Wars. Are you a fan of General Grievous? Did you see this episode when it aired for the first time, or have you seen it in the Clone Wars DVDs or re-releases or reruns? What did you think of this episode, really? Do you think that the animated version of General Grievous is just way more badass than the movie version? Of course, there is something of a small explanation for this, but we'll get to that when we actually get to that episode. Despite that, I love this one. I want to hear your thoughts about it, and I would love to hear what you guys want to see from Star Wars The Force Awakens. Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching my video. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be able to see all of our latest anime and manga reviews, and all these Star Wars videos that I'm working on. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.